his name, beyond compare. Steve Fezzik, two-time Super Contest winner, multiple contest wins, makes a career in Las Vegas as a sports bettor, and he joins us sitting next to Dustin Swedelson, his best friend, at the D there in downtown Las Vegas, and right down the street, as we say hi to Fez, right down the street from where Bet Bash went down this weekend, and I know you were a popular figure over at Bet Bash, and that's where we're going to start today. Let's get a summary. How was your experience?
Oh, just phenomenal. Spanky does the best job putting together all the different seminars, something for everyone to attend. If you want to just have fun, open bars every night, so many events, golf, poker. If you're a serious gambler, you can really, dig into the weeds and pick the brains of some of the smartest people in the industry just across the board. I just don't know how people do it. It's like Disney, Patrick. It's a good plan. Get up early before the lines are long, and then stay late when the lines aren't very long either. Well, when you're drinking half the night, it's easier said than done, right?
And certainly the sports betting space is a mixture of personalities. I notice it appears you become close with a guy that literally just eats like Reuben sandwiches on Twitter.
Yeah, George, GRP wins. At GRP wins, we've been having
like... He knew exactly who it was.
We've been having a rivalry and the like. And you know what? This happens all the time behind Twitter. So I made my peace with Johnny over, Rob Pizzola's friend. So I guess now I just got to, a couple other guys, if I meet them in person, we should be good. But George and I are buds. We were drinking at the Legacy Club. We're looking around. We're trying to spot, other folks there. You know what? Derek Stevens has just transformed that town. It is just amazing to see him up at the Legacy Club, and whether you are a world-class sports bettor, gambler, bookmaker, or if you are just a guy like George from Chicago, just hanging out, either way, he makes time for you. So great job by Derek.
Okay, so you buried the hatchet with a few people, and I'm going to set the number at 9.5. Patrick, you think over or under 9.5 people came up to Steve and said, you know what? I don't like you on Twitter, but you're a really nice guy in person.
Oh, well over.
What was it?
That's my imposter on my Twitter has been hacked. All right. So the truth is that the Helmuth thing got to me for a little while, and part of it, to be fair, the internet is so full of misinformation. Like, I was going in and I was querying how to get really good statuses at the different casinos so you can park for free, get free stuff. And it is some of the worst information you will ever hear, when it literally takes 10 seconds. I can tell you, get a credit card, get a better status without gambling, use the status matches to up your status, only play video poker when they have tier credit 5 times, 10 times days, and you will get these upscale status levels. And there's people playing slots talking about how they're experts, Dustin, at becoming an emerald, status that have no idea what they're talking about.
See, he brushed right over it. So his Twitter is Fezzik Sports, 2 Z's and a K on Twitter. If you meet Steve in person, family man, caring, buy you a drink, just one of the nicest guys ever. If you see him on Twitter, he's going to troll the ass out of you. That's just what he does. It must be like an alter ego, but you enjoy it.
And part of it is, I'm the guy at the poker table. If this happens sometimes, you get a limit, a 2-5, no limit game. It's just a bunch of people having fun, a couple pros in there, and there's a guy on there who's picking on somebody at the poker table. He loses to a bad player, and to the bad player he says, "Nice hand, sir." Translation, you're the biggest donkey of all time. I can't believe you played the 3-6 of diamonds. And that becomes my target. When a guy like that, and I'm like, you know what? I don't recall seeing you playing in the World Series final table this past year. I don't understand why. You're obviously a great player. But point is that if you got a bad player at your poker table, why would you ever call him out for being a bad player? He's just having fun, and it's helping you. It's actually helping you to win. Why would you be critical of that?
All right, maybe you can help a national audience understand the Sports Betting Hall of Fame. Because I know a friend of mine like Vinny Magliulo over at the South Point who would tell me once a year he had to travel to New Jersey for the Sports Betting Hall of Fame. Then the Spankster came to Derek, and they built a Sports Betting Hall of Fame there at Circa. I know there were luminaries, and you can tell us who, that were inducted. I saw Billy Walters there, which is a tremendous job. But help us understand the guidelines and what exactly are the differences between the two sports betting Hall of Fames.
I, frankly, haven't been following it closely enough, but I can tell you Spanky's Hall of Fame, if you ask anyone, ask Kenny White, all right? Any respected guy who's been around for a while. And Kenny is, I think, a great person to bounce this off, because I was listening to a segment with you, Patrick, and pretty much 98% of what Kenny says I agree with, whereas a lot of other people, it's like 33%. I mean, he's got a power rating through the roof. So he was universally the most respected guy I knew of back around the year 2000. And to be careful, Roxy Roxborough, Don Martin, all these guys, absolutely right there. They just came before Kenny. But when the non-Spanky Hall of Fame has just a bunch of administrators that are fantastic at filling out forms for making sure you don't get sued as a sports book and the like. But there's a precedent. There's a poker Hall of Fame. You know who's in the poker Hall of Fame? Guys like Phil Ivey and Phil Hellmuth, and guys that are good at, betting and making money playing poker. Not a lot of poker room managers in the Hall of Fame. Not a lot of poker administrators and poker chairpersons. Nolan Dalla should be in the Hall of Fame because he was tremendous as the World Series of Poker spokesperson for years. But my point is, there's just too many of these guys. Now, I mean, certainly, you look over at all the people that are in. Jimmy Vaccaro obviously belongs. Chris Andrews belongs. Vinny Magliulo belongs. I'm not saying all these guys don't belong in the Hall of Fame, but some of these administrators. I mean, I go back to the movie Wall Street, where Gordon Gekko comes and he's taking over Teledyne paper, and he's like, "Ladies and gentlemen, I've been spending the last 2 weeks analyzing these 22 vice presidents of your paper company in your Hall of Fame, and I still can't figure out what the hell they do other than push papers back and forth. No wonder your company's not making money." The point is, there should be more bettors than there should be administrators. Case in point, I know he's a young man, Rufus Peabody. The guy bets Dustin, he bets $5 million on every master. He's universally feared by all these sports bettors. Rufus is a guy that should be I guess he's still playing, to be fair. He's so young. Maybe we don't put him in yet, but he's a slam dunk. But a guy, I've had a truculent relationship with him. It's my fault. I'm sorry. Alan Boston belongs in any sports betting Hall of Fame, just from what he did for years and years. He worked for the great Billy Walters. He was well documented in the book by Millman, The Odds. Here's a guy, he has some Stu Unger tendencies, but he certainly absolutely belongs in the sports betting Hall of Fame.
All right. Well, don't fret, because since you can start one anywhere, I'm going to start another sports betting Hall of Fame in Hermosa Beach. And the 3 entries going in first will be Steve Fezzik, Rufus Peabody, and Alan Boston. Congratulations, Fez. You're in.
No. Put Alan in, because I understand that the older you are, the more likely. Dave Koken just passed away. He was universally respected, universally liked and loved in Vegas, and he's a guy that certainly belongs to be in there. But Mark Lawrence is a guy who's just been a tremendous asset for years and years and years. He belongs in the Sports Betting Hall of Fame. There's so many guys, and I get it, rightly so. The industry doesn't like guys who are more, guys who have, sold their plays and been a tout. I get that, but there's still some that certainly belong.
Well, just quickly before we move on, would you like to shill for your guy that eats those club sandwiches, the GPR guy? Is he in the Hall of Fame?
He's a young man. Let's see what he can do over his next 5 years. And if you missed it on Twitter, my idea, if there's a scavenger hunt for Bet Bash, my idea is that George is uniquely looking. I want him to wear a disguise and hang out somewhere. Probably would be a food establishment. So put him in Siegel's over in the El Cortez, or put him in the $12.95 prime rib he found at Tony Roma's in disguise. First person to find him wins the scavenger hunt.
I think that sounds like a great scavenger hunt. Just an alternative idea. Have a scavenger hunt trying to find a female.
Well, that group would have we'd have to put a time limit on when the contest ends.
Well, I'm going to disagree, because they're, I got to give credit to all the gals that did go to Bet Bash. There's 500 men and 9 women. So it takes some guts to like put up with some of these trash sports betting guys and how they are. And for the most part, we have some very knowledgeable women in the workplace, and it was great to see, that there being an actual panel of women in the sports betting place on Friday afternoon. I did miss it because I was just so shot from all the activities I had, and I was out late at the Legacy Club Thursday night. Thank you, Derek. You're the best. And
yeah, my assumption is the attendees of Bet Bash don't say the things to these females at Bet Bash that they say to them on Twitter, which is a contradiction. What did you say, big guy?
Yeah, well, I just think generally speaking to women in public is a difficult thing for most, but I understand. I'm one of those people as well. Not the easiest group. I did see someone tweet out, reminder, we're going to be in close proximity. Wear deodorant, shower, brush your teeth, use mouthwash, because I think for the group it's a good reminder.
Yeah, I think Tabitha is her name. She said, you know what, I want everyone to be on their better behavior poolside and what goes on in the pool, and reminds me of the Caddyshack with the famed baby Ruth, getting dropped into the pool. Always concerns one.
Oh, careful now. We're going to come back and discuss why, if you're a lifetime loser betting sports, you actually are uniquely qualified.
Whoa. We're losing them.
To make tons of money fairly, effortlessly, immediately. For those that don't know, I am playing injured. I have the flu. So bear with me, Steve Fezzik. And be nice to Dustin Swedelson. We're back with professional bettor off of Bet Bash. Steve Fezzik next. Fezzik, over the last, maybe year and a half, was on, kind of a health kick and got down to, what's the lowest you got down to?
193.2. But then I did blip to 188 when Wishnev was 1 pound away from me, and I panicked and went on 10 miles and sweated out 5 pounds in one day because I didn't want to lose the $10,000 I was about to lose. If he ever caught me, I owed him $10,000.
But you said that your stop loss, if you see 200 or more on the scale, you do this. And I think this is a great strategy. This is just shows, you just don't eat. You don't eat until you go below it.
It's
you don't eat.
It's an emergency partners meeting. It's kind of like you didn't make your earnings report, so you know what? Now we've got to do drastic measures, and my drastic measure is whatever your weight is, 200, 220, 250, 300, and you say, if I ever go above 300, for instance, then I weigh myself every morning, and if I don't make weight, I don't eat. Just like that Indian wrestler in the Olympics, right? If she's willing to shave her head and everything else to try to make weight, you can do it. You know what? Believe me, there's plenty of pancakes stored in your midsection. Go ahead and just take the day off and just pound liquid, pound water. And I know that is what, everyone's different, but that's what works for me. 200 is my number. If I wake up above 200 and I'm on my game, I say, nope, going to fast today.
Yep. A little discipline. Big guy, you got to pick a number and just don't eat until you get to that number.
I'm not going to eat for 3 years then.
No, you
Dustin Swedelson.
You got to reset, Patrick, because the number has to go a little bit lower. So every week you got to lower the number by 3 pounds. So that's
there is a little bit of bitterness. Fez is always writing me to tell you how great you are, which is true. And I'm always like, Steve, you don't think I love that guy? I mean, what are you talking about here? But anyway, one thing that you've never admitted to him is that he's making you bitter because he writes you all the time about how great JVT looks, and you get mad at Steve when he does that.
Yeah, because look, JVT does look great. I mean, he's killing it. We're both losing weight here. I mean, me a little bit slower lately, but we're still losing weight. Things are going well. But I just want to remind Steve that I actually won the first weigh-in, and JVT lost 18 pounds. So I had a pretty good head start.
Well, I have some possible good and bad news for you. Which would you like?
I'll take both.
All right, I'll give you both. So the good news is that JVT is, I'm on the outs now with JVT. I thought JVT was looking good, looking sharp and the like. However, Patrick, at Bet Bash, I saw none other than Jared Smith. Jared Smith, I tell you what, if you don't have a man crush on Jared Smith, something is
I think Jared Smith has a man crush on Jared
with
Smith.
You. As Jared Smith, quite possibly the only part of his body that you could have any question is, it's true as his above the neck, he may have gotten slightly larger, but the rest of him is like a transformation of epic proportions. Jared Smith, I think, is sub 185. He looks like he's ready to run a marathon. So, dude, I mean, I tell you what, don't bet against that guy in any weight loss challenge. He is styling.
I'm going to leave that alone. Dustin, you got anything?
I saw you chasing him on Fremont Street, trying to tackle him when he had the football, and he did look svelte. He was moving around pretty well.
All I know is that I picked the wrong guy to do a video in terms of fitness, because everyone's like, that poor old Fezzik, he can barely move. And I tell you, I play Gilly at tennis tomorrow, and just based upon how slow I was in that video, the money is pouring in on Gil Alexander tomorrow in her tennis match.
All right. Well, he is professional bettor Steve Fezzik, sitting next to his rival, because this is it. Dustin's passive. He would never admit. And when he tells me that Steve is trolling me with JVT, I said, Steve is probably trying to motivate you. And then he just gets mad and we change the subject. Anywho, not that it's awkward between the two of you now.
Sorry,
Let's try it again.
Sorry, JVT.
Let's discuss why, if you're a lifetime loser betting sports, you actually are uniquely
We're going through it.
Hold on. Uniquely qualified to make tons of money fairly, effortlessly, immediately. There's the question. Now the answer, Fez.
Back when I was trying to get jobs, that was my go-to phrase on my resume. I'm uniquely qualified to write uniquely qualified. It's getting harder and harder. Kenny talked about all the places that are booting him instead of using his information when he's betting. So here's what you do. If you've been a sports bettor and you haven't had much luck, instead of working your butt off to try to become a winning sports bettor, which is going to be very difficult because whatever you've been doing hasn't been working, you put a call into Kenny White, or put a call into my friend the Crackman, or the Hitman, or any one of these numerous people. Get a hold of Patrick or Dustin. He'll get a hold of me. I'll hook you up with these guys. And here, how good is this? Just say, you know what? What I'm doing is not working. I have all these accounts where I'm labeled, good gambler, responsible gambler definition, sucker better, and they're taking big limits from me. And then just have somebody else direct you on what to wager, and become partners with them and take a free roll on that account, and you will undoubtedly make money, and bottom line, you can't lose, because every one of these guys is going to give you a free roll, or they'll give you a percentage of the wins without any of the losses. Check with your lawyer to make sure all this is legal, of course, but I know that this is becoming commonplace and going on throughout the country.
Well, there are a couple of things there. I don't think I was kissing his ass, because I know you and you do the same thing. The amount of work, if you're going to decide to do this for a living, that goes into it, it's not just wake up, look at the board, and just chase steam, or the opposite. It's wake up and to start grinding, going through. He's going through each individual player on every college football team that's FBS and FCS. To be a profitable bettor, how much work goes into it.
What a contrast. And there's dozens of different methods that work. So Kenny, it does the job with each and every player. I'm much more on a macro level. As an example, so I get up, I sleep through a podcast I was supposed to do at 5:30. I'm sorry, Ross, I got up eventually. 6:30, I'm taking my son to school. What's this? Oh, I missed a podcast. And then I glance at the week 2 preseason totals. What's this? They're all being dealt 33-37. Well, I know nothing, Patrick, about totals and about the quarterback rotations yet on these teams, but I know this. Week 2 of preseason is higher scoring than week 1, and I know you can't, in no world can you be dealing the average total 35 on all these totals. And so I start frantically sending out texts to people and betting myself, getting down across the board on every over. And within 20 minutes, all of these overs are getting compromised, and the steam is flying in. And I finally get around to actually doing my homework. I looked it up last year, week 2 preseason. There were half the games scored 40-plus points, all right? 1/4 of the games, 4 of the games went 32 points or below, and 1/4 of the games landed 36-39. So clearly, we have a point of demarcation here. I would expect at least half the games are going to hit 40 again with the new kickoff rules, which is going to increase scoring, I estimate, by 1.5 points. And there wasn't one total that was even close to 40 when I woke up. So I bombed all the overs. If I still had to play, you can put me down for these three. The 3 highest totals on the board: Giants-Texans over 39.5. Lions-Chiefs over 39. Packers-Broncos over 39. Like I said, half the games went 40 or over last year in the same situation. Now we got better kickoff rules. I know teams are scrimmaging against each other. That's bad for overs. There's no doubt about that. But the bottom line is I think all three of those will close north of 40. Let's get in on the over 39s before they move.
That's a great look at how pros, different strokes, different folks. Great breakdown, Fez. We've got questions for you coming back. They're coming in. Sharpmoney at VSiN.com. Quickly, why Circa Survivor is actually a negative expectation versus playing millions?
So this is subtle. There's guarantees put out there, and some people inevitably will sleep in, like I did this morning, and they won't get their picks in. So even if there's not an overlay from Circa, in terms of their guarantees, there'll be an overlay from people just forgetting to put in their picks. Further, I expect there will be an overlay in millions. But now here, there's one small problem that no one talks about. And the problem is Kansas City plays Baltimore on Thursday night. Now, Kansas City just lost a wide receiver, so they were -3. Maybe they're going to be a -2.5, -2.6. They're a modest favorite. But there are some people that want to survive to week 2, and they'll do everything humanly possible to do so. Well, the Friday night game is a pick'em game. Philly's a modest favorite. But Kansas City's the clear favorite. So I would anticipate about 7%, no more, about maybe 5 to 7% of the field. They're going to load up on Kansas City, and they'll go all in. They'll pick Kansas City to go ahead and win week 1 in Survivor. Not many people, if any, will take Baltimore. Now, if Kansas City loses, then they can re-up. They can re-enter. That's within the rules. And then they can play more entries and play again. So what's going to happen, if Kansas City wins, right off the bat, you're behind the 8 ball. You've got like 7% of the field's going to be 1-0. I'm 0-0. That's a negative EV situation. That's a negative rake on me, and I'm not that excited about Survivor. I know this sounds subtle because I have to survive all 20 weeks, but it's material nevertheless, and thus because of it. But should Kansas City lose, Dustin, my man, you and I are going to become partners in Survivor. Patrick, you and I are going to become partners. My wife and I, I will be unloading on extra Survivor picks because now I'll get an overlay from people not putting in their picks and an overlay from everyone that lost on Kansas City week 1.
Are we in front of Jared?
Oops. Jared and Dustin, I just throw out numbers. Yeah.
Ask a Pro with Fez coming up next. You can email sharpmoney at vsin.com. Just quickly, the S show that is the Jets continues. So Hassan Reddick announced that he wants a trade, and the Jets just released an official statement that they're not going to trade him. So that continues as we welcome you back. I'm Patrick Meagher, live from L.A. Of course, the big guy Dustin Swedelson hanging out at the D with professional bettor Steve Fezzik. We were talking about some of our all-time favorites in a different industry during the break, so we'll leave that alone. It's now time to get to your questions. Now, the way this works is Fezzik doesn't know the questions because it's better that way. His brain works with rapidity. So he gets the questions, he answers them. Let's go, Dustin.
All right, first one up here is from Eric Bonnet. Eric says, how would you use teasers in the preseason NFL market? Still just wonder teasers, or is there more nuance? I think it means Wong teasers. Still just Wong teasers, or is there more nuance in the preseason?
Yeah, if you've got a book that takes it, remember we're looking for a 6-point teaser and -120. And if we get a loss and a tie or a win and a tie, we want our money back. We don't want ties lose. So same thing, Wong teasers. So what do we mean by that? We're going to tease a +2. And when I say +2, it's plus or minus a half. So +1/2, +2, +2.5. So +2 up to +8. Or we're going to take -8, which is rare, but it may happen this week. -8 down to -2. So we're teasing through the corridor of 3 through 7. Capturing those key numbers. The ones worrisome part about teasing in the preseason, when you're teasing a favorite down, teams can tie. There's no overtime. So I do think that the -7.5 and the -8-point favorites, teasing those teams down to -1.5 or -2 is more dangerous. Maybe you should avoid it because you'll see situations where teams go for 2 also. So if you have a situation, teams up 7 and they're laying 7 and you tease them, down to -1, boom, the other team scores. You're not going to steal it in overtime because that team's going to go for 2 at the end of the game.
Great question. Again, who was that, Dustin? Tremendous question and answer.
That was from Eric Bonnet.
Thank you, Eric.
Eric
Appreciate
with a K.
it. Great question.
Eric with a K.
Next up.
All right, Jesse writes in, What does Steve think about laddering bets on props? We all know his instinctual response will be just bet the baseline prop. That's at minus 115 because it's mathematically more profitable in the long run. However, I do wonder if these big sports books who are offering huge ladder opportunities might be something to delve into. I'd love to know if he's looked into it.
Yeah, no, great question. So laddering, obviously, instead of just doing our baseline bet, we're going to go ahead and play it all over the board. So example, in the Olympic finals, you get word, this bad example because it wouldn't have worked. So Kevin Durant is going to suddenly be in the starting lineup, and his over-under is 14.5. So you play the over 14.5, minus 110, and you're like, let me do some ladders here. I've got good information. I want to get more down. So maybe you play them over 15.5, and then you get plus 125, and you play over 17.5, maybe you get plus 165. Like I said, bad example because he landed on 15. But the idea is that if you're really right on something, it's a way for you to shove more of your chips in and get super high payout. So I'm not adverse to the laddering. My friends over at unabated.com will be able to tell you exactly how much one extra assist or one extra point is worth, and whether you're getting robbed blind with all these numbers or whether you're getting a fair market price. So I'd encourage you to go to Unabated, Captain Jack Andrews, and that group, and they will steer you in terms of whether you're taking the worst of it or if you're getting fair value.
What I like about it is the emailer knows he answered Steve's question by answering Steve's question and then hoped that Steve would give him, and he did. He elucidated. He said, yeah, he's not adverse to the ladder bets, so we like to see that. Go to Unabated for real value. Now, Dustin, another one.
Craig Stumpson writes in, Steve, I want to enter Circa Millions and try for the booby prize. For those that don't know, the booby prize is if you have the worst win-loss record. Is picking losers easier than picking winners, he wants to know.
No, it's exactly the same. I love these easy questions. So, listen, if you're going to win the booby prize, okay, typically the winner, let's say the winner hits 75%. The booby prize winner usually loses at a 72% rate or something, comparable to that because they start 1-9, right? And then like, well, may as well change gears and go ahead and start picking. Now I'm going to take the teams I think are going to win and pick them to lose. But inevitably, if you start too early, you realize, oh, I won $100,000 playing the booby prize. But you know what? Not only would I have finished 14th and won that $90,000 or $100,000 anyways, but I also would have won a quarterly prize along the way, and I just donked off $200,000 by chasing this small booby prize. The bottom line is that the prize pool, I don't know what it is. It's like 98% of the money is going towards the people who do well, and in the quarterly prizes. Absent the quarterly prizes, it would be fine. So if you're out of it for any quarterly, then in the fourth quarter, maybe then you could go ahead and turn around and go booby. But before then, it really is rarely correct, and most people make a poor choice. And Gilly's friend Joe Pita, some really smart guy, I think went for the booby prize way too early, but he got rewarded for it and wound up boobying and winning. But I would not recommend it to most people.
Do we know how many entries there were last year? And so I'm guessing Millions is going to go up exponentially every single year, right?
I think there was 5,500 in Millions from memory, somewhere around there, and I don't think they quite made. I think there was an overlay. Survivor, I think they were guaranteeing 10 million. This from memory, and they soared over. You know what? Survivor's going to go up to 15 million. It's just gotten out of control. So there's no chance you're going to have an overlay from just the entries. It is so popular. One of the big reasons Survivor's so popular. Think about a poker tournament. Like it's day 4 of the World Series of Poker. How you doing? I'm alive and I have the chip lead. Well, everyone has the chip lead in Survivor. Everyone is tied for first, and that is very powerful because in Millions, you may be doing pretty well picking 63%. You're still in 88th place. You can't get that excited about it, and that's the beauty of Survivor. Until you're out, you are the chip leader.
Over 9,000 were in Survivor. I'll find Millions somewhere.
Okay. I asked late for requests as far as questions. Is that it for us today? Sharpmoney at VSiN.com?
No, Bill writes in sharpmoney at VSiN.com. Is it sharp or stupid to stock my portfolio with futures on one NFL team, pushing all my chips into the center on Super Bowl, MVP, and other awards?
I'd say it's not sharp. I would say where it is sharp is when you get breaking news on the positive or the negative, let's face it, if Andrew Luck retires, it's probably a good idea to bet the Indianapolis Colts, true story, under 10, and bet the Colts not to make the playoffs, and bet the Colts not to win the division, and bet the other guys to win the division, and bet everyone within their division to win over 2.5 division games. You get the idea. You can wind up with a huge portfolio with information like that. To use an example, we didn't think that Bo Nix could play in the NFL, and now we've got to rethink that. He looked very good. Small sample size, but keep in mind, I had a sample size of 0 on Bo Nix in the NFL. Now I have a sample size of 1. That is a much bigger sample to draw a conclusion from. I think you have to upgrade the Denver Broncos immediately. If you're thinking about playing the Broncos over their 5.5 season win total, you probably want to do that, and you probably want to play any Bo Nix futures and the like. Will he start week 1? It's much more likely now based upon a 1-game sample.
So, Steve, you heard earlier the little bet that we're having, 6.5 win. And we didn't mess with the juice, to be fair, but 6.5 on the win totals this year and less. So the boys were giving me a hard time because I like the Commanders this year. You were at the gym, so I'm going to let you know. Mike Somich I selected the Commanders, obviously. Somich selected the Las Vegas Raiders, and Dustin selected the Carolina Panthers.
I love that Dustin didn't just take a 6.5. But further, I'm thrilled nobody played the game and said, I'm going to take the Vikings in Arizona over, which their season win numbers adjusted for vigor are north of 7 now. So I love that Dustin took Carolina. You're going to lose, but I love you didn't just look. Let me get, so Somich, super smart guy. He's like, the Raiders are 6.65. You know, there's 6.5s out there. I'm no problem with Somich grabbing the Raiders over 6.5, but he's like playing the game. He's taken the best 6.5 team that's available to go ahead and use. So it's the correct answer. It's like the SAT. That's the correct answer to the SAT. But what we've got here is Dustin showing like cleverness to like take a team lined at 5.5. I don't think Young can play a lick, so I think you're going to lose, but I like the initiative there.
I would say...
See, now, hold on, Dustin, before you answer. See, now, this is what we've talked about when Steve isn't here. He doesn't like your bet. He complimented you.
Yes.
Complimented Somich. What did he say about me?
Oh, no thought.
Nothing.
Well, you didn't.
He literally complimented you while saying you're going to lose, and then mine was just left out there hanging. I'm letting people know.
Patrick,
I'm letting people know.
Patrick, you're 6, so let me do the talking. Nobody comes up with more clever stuff than Patrick.
No, we're not playing that game.
We're not playing that game. No one else is
not playing that game.
We got to pick. People are like, who's going to win the Super Bowl? Who's going to win the MVP? No, Patrick Meagher tells you what is the best 6.5 win line team in the NFL. That's so clever and taking it to a next level. Dustin takes a 5.5 team. I love it.
But Patrick didn't have he asked who made the best choice. He didn't make a choice. He created the contest behind the fact that he thinks the Commanders are good. So there was no choice to be made.
Repeat. He said, you're going to lose, and then went on to say why it was a great pick. What planet? Fezzik, you're the best. We'll see you next week.